You know that feeling, right? That electric spark when you meet someone new? The chemistry? It feels like everything. But what happens when that initial jolt starts to fade? What's really left? Well, today we're diving into the pretty surprising science of what actually makes love last. So let's just kick things off with a question that gets right to the heart of this whole thing. We've all seen it. Maybe we've even been there ourselves. The person who seems perfect on paper. I mean, they tick every single box. But for some reason, they just don't make us happy. So what is actually going on there? All right, to crack this code, we have to start at the beginning. We need to understand that really powerful biological pull of a first impression. Believe it or not, that initial spark, it's not random. It's actually a super old survival mechanism just doing its job. Yeah, our brains use these little rapid-fire shortcuts to try and figure out things like health and resources. It's kind of like a flashy movie trailer, you know? It's designed to get you interested, to get you in the door, but it tells you absolutely nothing about whether the movie's actually any good. And the research totally backs this up. It is a very incomplete picture when it comes to long-term happiness. And this, right here, is where it gets super interesting. Just look at the difference. The very things that light that initial fire, looks, status, even that thrill of the chase, are completely different from what builds a real, lasting, fulfilling partnership. This slide just perfectly illustrates the huge mental shift we need to make. So, okay, if it's not all about that initial chemistry, then what does the science actually say predicts that deep, long-term satisfaction with a partner? Let's get into the research. This is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And researchers have spent decades trying to figure it out. What's wild is that the answers they found are remarkably consistent. It turns out it's way less about finding some perfect match and so much more about the personal qualities that someone actually brings to the table. Yeah, across so many global studies, a really clear pattern starts to emerge. Character and emotional connection, those are the real predictors of satisfaction. Qualities like kindness and emotional stability, they aren't just, nice to haves. They are the absolute foundation of a bond that can actually get through life's storms. So, what makes these specific traits so powerful? Well, think about it. Kindness isn't just about being polite. It's a huge signal of deep empathy. And emotional stability, that's not boring. It's a safe harbor in the chaos of everyday life. When you put them together, they create this profound sense of trust and safety that our brains find incredibly, deeply pleasing. Okay, so this is all great information, but how can you actually spot these deeper qualities in someone you're just getting to know, right? How do you look past that polished, best behavior, first date version of a person? Well, research actually points to a pretty practical toolkit. Instead of just listening to what they say, you can pay attention to these 4 key areas. Think of it like you're collecting better data to make a better decision. Let's break down exactly how to do it. First up, check in with yourself. And I mean, seriously, after a date or even just after a phone call, how do you really feel? Are you energized and happy? Or are you kind of drained, maybe even a little anxious? Your body, your nervous system is giving you crucial data about how safe you actually feel with them. Don't ignore that feeling. Next, and this is a big one, watch how they act when they think no one important is looking. The way someone treats a waiter or a rideshare driver or a stranger on the street, that reveals so much more than how they treat you on a first date. These are the unguarded moments where their true colors really show. And that brings us to a real game-changing idea from relationship science. Does this person have a growth belief or a destiny belief? See, someone with a destiny belief thinks you're either soulmates or you're not. So the minute there's trouble, it's a sign it wasn't meant to be. But someone with a growth belief, they see a relationship as something you build together, like a team. They see challenges as problems you solve, not as signs of failure. The research on this is crystal clear. A partner with a growth belief is a much, much better bet for long-term happiness. So what does all this science really mean for us? How do we actually use these insights to build better, more fulfilling connections in our own lives? Let's bring it all together. Look, the goal here isn't to pretend that physical attraction doesn't matter. Of course it does. It's about recalibrating our priorities. It's about consciously deciding to expand our definition of what attractive is, to include the character traits that are actually going to sustain a secure, joyful, and lasting bond. When you think about it this way, it reframes the entire search for a partner. It's not a lottery. It's not just waiting around for a lightning strike. It's a skill you can actually develop. So, the final question is this. Now that you know what truly builds a pleasing connection, what are you going to look for next? The choice is yours.